Welcome back to I Need to Know About World History, and today we're going to talk about Mesopotamia. And with Mesopotamia, I always wondered why a pre-Greek place was given a Greek name. If you're looking at me like I'm speaking Zulu, you might know a little more about this later when I educate you. Right, so Mesopotamia. Mistakenly mentioned by your favorite moron in the last video. If you don't get the reference, I said it and I meant Mesoamerica, but I wasn't entirely wrong. Agriculture was flourishing in Mesopotamia too. At least that's something. So Mesopotamia is literally Greek for land between the rivers, which is a none too subtle pointing at Mesopotamia is the land between the Tigris and the Euphrates rivers in the current Middle East. And it's in a place known as the Fertile Crescent, which was get ready to be shocked, everybody, a crescent of, even more shocking, fertile land in the Middle East, which stretched from Israel in a crescent to the Iraqi coastline of the Persian Gulf. The word Mesopotamia can either mean the region that we just mentioned that was named after some Greek stuff, or it can mean the city-states and/or civilizations that resided in the region. There were three major civilizations in the Mesopotamian region. First, in chronological date order, the Sumerians, who were conquered by the second one, the Babylonians, who were conquered by the third one, the Assyrians. Okay, so let's start talking. We can't have me being sarcastic for the whole video, or it wouldn't technically teach you anything about history. Anyway, the Sumerians are one of the things that we described in the last episode. Civilization got those 7 characteristics. Yeah, a lot of technological inventions. They invented irrigation systems, and they're the ones that had the ziggurat. And besides the cool name, you would know them because they have a lot of steps and they're a pyramid. Yeah, that one. Okay, so the Sumerians existed around 3000 BC. They had many walled cities surrounded by barley and wheat farms. And they were all city-states, which means they were each autonomous to their own degree. So they governed themselves, but they shared the same culture. And they were closely allied. Some of these city-states were Ur, Kish, Uruk, Umma, were some of them. And you notice me surreptitiously glancing down at my paper. So, most of the city-states were governed by the priest of the religion, which is something known as a theocracy. And so the Sumerians had a number system that was based off the numbers 6 and 60. They had a language called cuneiform, which helped them with their record keeping, and you can translate it online today. So next, the Babylonians, who technically conquered the Sumerians. They were an empire with the capital of the city, get ready for another shocker, Babylon. Don't you just love historians? They can always, they're the ones that have the choice, and they can always choose the best names, but they always choose the most plain, ridiculous, or boring ones. The Babylonians spoke a language called Akkadian, and they were always in conquest with their neighbors, the Assyrians, who we'll discuss next, until the Assyrians decided that, hey, we're starting to get really annoyed with you Babylonians, so let's just conquer you. So the Babylons flourished in about 1800 BC. Or pardon, their empire was founded in 1800 BC. The well-known king ruler Hammurabi ruled from 1792 to 1750 BC. He set down a code of laws called the Hammurabi's Code, which you might have heard of for its eye for an eye decree, and it also mandated that you respect your elders and set down some strict laws with some very more strict punishment. Babylonians had very well-trained armies under Hammurabi, and at one point were even in control of their neighbor, the Assyrians. But later, the Babylonians were slowly pushed back to their homeland by the Assyrian armies, and slowly their homeland fell to the Assyrians too, which brings us to our next discussion, the Assyrians. One of the most not nice empires in the world. So the Assyrians, 2500 to 605 BC, their capital was, another shocker, though not as plain and boring as the old ones, Assur, and if I can CGI it onto my face, there's this nice little thing over the S, or both S's actually. They are noted for their vicious warfare. It's time for history event. You know the rules. I get a minute. If not, I am silent and my mouth looks like a fish. And I'm going to go because I have a guy I need to rage about. Ashurnasirpal II, Assyrian king, noted for his brutality and conquering skill. During his reign, he embarked, quote-unquote, a vast program of expansion. He conquered people in the north of Asia Minor, invaded modern Syria, and the Phoenicians. And when he massacred an opposing people, and here I quote him on his monument, "Their men, young and old, I took prisoners. Of some I cut off their feet and hands. Of others I cut off their ears, noses, and lips. Of young men's ears I made a heap. Of old men's heads I made a marionette. I exposed their heads as a trophy in front of the city. The male children and the female children I burned in flames. The city I destroyed and consumed with fire." Thank you for being such a brilliant guy and an inspiration to Adolf Hitler. Ashurnapal II, you were just plain brutal. At one period, they held control of their homeland, which is in northern Iraq, to present-day Mecca, to Jerusalem, to the split of the Nile. So basically, they had control over the entire Middle East, but I felt like dragging that one out for emphasis. We have a very rough history record of them because they were more concerned with the people conquering, brutalizing part of history than the let's keep records and be peaceful part. They had their biggest power from 1365 to 1050 BC. They overthrew the 25th dynasty of Egypt, and they dissolved in 603 BC because they were weakened by several invasions, and most of its population decided that, hey, let's convert to Christianity. And so they did. And so the warlike Assyrians collapsed. I Need to Know About World History is made possible by all of these nice people. All of this not-so-nice software. This week's whiteboard was I don't speak Zulu, but I do know a bit of German.